Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So I'm starting a series of videos, no idea how many types there will be, where it'll go, but as I've gotten into the world of flight sim, coming with no background at all, what I've really started to see is that there may be a barrier to entry for other people like me, just simply from an intimidation factor. This particular video is basically covering that point to some degree of the pros and the cons and what you might want to think about as you consider, hey, do I want to get involved in this thing? So let's just jump right in. So my initial thoughts when I was coming in and looking at it is I knew there would be a lot to learn, and I knew that there would be a lot of confusion. But what I found once I was involved was both were actually bigger than I thought. There was more to learn than I thought, and there was a lot more confusion than I expected. And a big part of this, I feel, is because there is not a lot of content from the perspective of a non-aviation person. You can find hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on a topic of how to use autopilot, how to fly a plane, how to land, how to take off, what to do in VATSIM, things like that, from people who are expert at it in some way, shape, or form. And what I'm looking to offer is a little bit different. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who has come to really enjoy participating in this space, and I think there's people who are afraid to try it because they just don't have a way to get information that is easily understandable. So I'm hoping to fill that gap. So as the background image that I've got here as I chat shows, part of the allure for a lot of people, I think one of the pros of flying is just that freedom to kind of get into a vehicle, go anywhere you want. You're not confined as much as you are on the ground to roads and things like that. You can just jump in and you can go exploring. The nice thing with flight simming is barrier to entry, unlike real world, is relatively simple. It's still probably more costly than maybe other pursuits in the gaming or simming world, because to do certain things or to do anything beyond the basics, you are going to need to invest some money. But at the core, all you really need is a flight simulator, and so I've found there are three major choices. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 is coming out at some point in 2024. The official date has not been announced yet. We would assume in the next few months. The nice thing I've seen with 2024 is it does look like if you have things from 2020, they're basically offering backward compatibility, which basically means investments that you make in planes and so forth will continue to function in 2024, which I think is an excellent direction, and I'm hoping that that is accurate and that it continues. You've also got X-Plane, and you have Prepared, otherwise what looks like Prepare 3D. The 3 is basically referenced as an E in the flight sim community, so it's typically known as Prepared. In my opinion, the most accessible flight simulator for folks who are not aviation geeks and really well immersed into the culture would be the Microsoft Flight Simulator platform. It's got one of the largest communities. It's got a lot of material available in it, and it was what ultimately got me from initially trying X-Plane to jump over to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I have not looked back. Another pro that I think you'll find in flight simulation is it is a way to challenge yourself to do something you've just never done before, but that yet has a large upside in enjoyment, excitement, and entertainment as well. If you're like me and you enjoy learning new things, it will provide you an endless path in which to do that. And using the notorious pun that is just waiting to be used, the sky's the limit. when you talk about flight simulation and what you might or might not be able to do with it. You can choose to join virtual airlines. You can choose to go ahead and just fly at your heart's content wherever you want. You can create your own storylines in ways that are really not possible at the level that they are in a flight sim type of community. Now, what are some of the downsides that you might want to think about before you jump in? You're likely going to spend more money than you thought you were going to. You're going to find aircraft that you'd like to fly, that are well modeled, that are well respected in the community. And as you try freeware aircraft and so forth, you will gain an appreciation for the paid versions and likely remove barriers and therefore open your wallet and start spending a little bit more than you had planned. In my experience, that certainly was the case. I really entered the flight sim community. I don't really care what I fly. I'm sure the base planes will be fine. And I'd say 90-95% of the case, that is accurate. I can certainly do that. But I have, at this point, picked up 2 planes, one of the PMDG planes and one of the Phoenix or Phoenix, F-E-N-I-X planes that are out there, and I enjoy both of them immensely, and I absolutely see the difference between them and either stock planes or free planes. And I think you'll start to do that, but those came with a price tag of between $50 to $70 in both cases. That, again, is more than typically you pay for getting into another sim. So just be prepared that if you do enjoy it and if you like to do things, there may be things you'll be looking for. And there's things beyond aircraft. So there are additional things that enhance pieces of the world. I'll be talking about those in other videos and giving, again, a non-aviation person's view of how they work, how you use them, how to learn them, and so forth. Things like controlling ground services, things like simulating what the pilot would be explaining or announcing in the plane as they fly, things that you work with air traffic control on, just to name a few. Just as we've all heard the phrase that the greatest strength can become the greatest weakness, similarly, some of the things that I said were pros of getting into flight simulation also can become the cons. There is a lot to learn. That can be daunting. That can be intimidating. That can be frustrating, and ultimately that can be what causes you to just give up because you realize it may be more than what you're looking at doing. Another con of it, because of the limitless nature of what you can do, if you're not careful, it can become a bit of an obsession, and to the point where you're neglecting other things that you shouldn't neglect. So it's going to be something that's going to require time management on your part, or it's very, very easy to constantly find a reason to go in and jump in and do something related to flight sim. How those things are perceived is really going to be dependent upon you. But I would suggest, if you have any interest in this and have been keeping away because you just don't know where to start, you just don't understand certain aspects of it, stay tuned to this channel. I will continue to put out content in this vein. Again, coming from a non-aviation perspective, someone who has no understanding of the industry, no understanding of it in real life, how I got into it and how I was able to overcome those barriers, and now I have the blessing of the enjoyment of this incredibly fulfilling pastime. So hope this brief video gives you something to think about on whether you want to go ahead and take that journey. And as always, with any of the things I put out on the channel, if you have enjoyed this but haven't dropped a like, please consider doing that. Helps get it out in front of other people. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please consider doing that. And I will see you next time.